Hello, once again, to the latest in a series of Niwa author interviews. I am Pat, and I am here today with Robert Stuart, who's an author of young adult, contemporary, mystery, and science fiction novels. And so it looks like your most recent book is called the book is not unfinished. The book is titled Unfinished,
It's titled Unfinished, yes.
and it's part of a Brock Kenna Tegan mystery series. Can you tell me a bit about the series and who are Brock, Kenna, and Tegan?
The series Unfinished is the fifth book, and when I started this, I expected to write one. And the next one, I actually intend to finish the books arc. But Brock, Kenna, and Tegan are detectives in an unnamed city. I want people to be able to engage with these characters on their own as if it's their city. Brock is a detective who is assigned an artificial person as a partner. She comes basically from the factory, not knowing how to do anything. Now, I'm going to stay away from android or robot. My younger brother says she's a robot, but that's fine. I don't ever use that word in the book, or AI either, because I want the reader to embrace the character. So basically, Brock is assigned this artificial person detective. She doesn't know how to do anything as a detective. She's never had a mother. So Tegan is brought in from another precinct to help teach her how to be a 28-year-old woman who was basically born today. Okay, now that's the setup premise of it. And Tegan thinks she knows who Brock is and all about him, and she hates him. Loathe is the word that's used here. And that relationship has to develop. And so they can work together. And I want all of my characters to grow through the course of the book. And hopefully the reader grows with them and engages with these characters.
And Kenna was the artificial person then.
Ken is the
Okay.
artificial person, and all three of them have Scots Gaelic names. Brock means badger. Kenna means born of fire. So when I think of that, you hold up your hand with little blue flames on the tips of your fingers. Um, Tegan means attractive. And a lot of other names in the story are also of Scots origin because my family's Scottish and I'm the author. I can do that, basically.
It, see, so, and you said you had one more book in the series coming out.
I'm going to
So,
have one more in the series. That doesn't mean it's the end of the Brock Tegan books, but when you get into it, you find out the end of the first one, there's some unfinished business, and they carry that over into the second one, and there's more unfinished business all the way now through book five, which is titled Unfinished, because now they think they're going to go finally bring it all to an end in the next one.
okay,
They don't say it that way, but that's the goal is to bring
that's
it
the
to
goal.
the
Right?
end in the
So, is
next one.
this? So it sounds like it's just one overarching storyline for all six books. Then,
Correct. Yeah, it's all related. It's all beads on the same string that they're putting together. But hopefully, book six will put all the last beads on this string.
and then you also have a science fiction series
Yes.
with Opportunity Station.
Opportunity Station. The
And
Yeah.
yeah, tell me about that. And your protagonist, Jason, sounds like an interesting person.
Well, Jason, this was the first book I ever wrote back in 2007. I was between jobs, and so this is what I did to keep my mind active. But I didn't do anything with it. Mostly at the time, I was hand printing and hand binding books like this one called The Locket. This is all printed on my printer and hand bound. And over time, I got to where they looked actually almost like you'd go buy one at the bookstore, like this one. Were very different. So I would make them and give them to people as a
So you
gift. Like,
bound that one too?
yeah, this is hand bound,
Oh,
but my technique got better over time. Um, and as part of that, Jason the title of the story is called If I Were in Charge, and it's a typical story in premise where he thinks he knows better how to do something than the people who actually run the place. Well, a few of them are mad at him because he's usually able to prove that they're wrong and he's right. And so when they shut down this mining station out in space, they arranged to leave him there by himself. Uh-oh, now what? What's he going to do? And the story develops from the point where He didn't show up where they all got carried away to. All the men were shipped off on ships to a big main station. He didn't arrive. So where is he? Well, he's still got to be there, right?
Right.
Well, now they got to go find out and see what happens and why was the station shut down and all of that. And then the second book basically carries from the end of the first one. It's called Opportunity Station. And this is, I like strong female characters, and she's a strong female character. This is kind of like what happened, and this is the what really happened and why. And so it's a part of a two-book series, and now I'm being asked to write the third book in the series to sew that one up before I go back to my sixth Brock Kennetegan book.
So that's the next thing you'll be coming out with,
That's the next
you
thing I'll
think?
be doing. Yeah,
The-
my younger son wants to be written into that book. That's a challenge. How do you do that? So I'm having to work on that. I mean, he wants to be written in as himself into the
Right.
book.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's like, oh, this isn't nonfiction. Let's see how I'm going to do that. So that's a challenge to do a fair justice to it, you know.
Yeah. I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Plus, you'd mentioned science fiction. I did sort of like a Star Wars fan fiction, Rebel Leader, that is slight overlap onto the edge of Star Wars worlds
oh,
in that one.
so that's set in that
This,
world specifically, or
yeah,
do you
this is
have?
set on Jakku,
Oh, okay.
but it's just a place. Only one of the characters from any of the other things that you may have seen in theaters or on TV is referenced in the book, but a lot of the trappings of it, you know, the environment, and this young first order lieutenant is tasked to do something. Everybody says it's simple, just go do it, and she finds otherwise, that they don't know what they're telling her, and that's where that story develops. And she does find the rebel leader, but it's not a straight path to get there.
Right. I bet. I, that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah. I
Doesn't.
like the fact I
Um,
can create the environment in the world and build the characters and everything to make it work.
okay. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your process? You mentioned some of it earlier. But so when you start a new book, like how do you start? What comes first, like plot, character, or setting, or where do you go from there? And how do you do that?
Um,
So I see this.
when I first engaged with Niwa last summer, people said, "Are you a plotter or are you a pantser?" To me, a pantser is somebody when I was in grade school went over and yanked their trousers down on the play field. It's like, I'm not doing that. Then they had to explain that. So I find that I'm very much in a combination of both. I have two monitors because when I stopped working, I had all these things left over from working at home. And so on one monitor, usually to the left, I have a Word document where I will in advance plan out the whole scenario of the book. You know, I'll have like I even have 2 pages of characters and tell me about them. How tall are they? What do they wear? What do they do? What's their history? What's their likes? What's their dislikes? And then I'll get into defining the storyline and all the way down through the end. Sometimes I'll write pages of dialogue as part of that, and then I can just pick them up and move them over to the other monitor on the right where the actual story will be written. But then I sit down and fill it in. That's the pantsing part. But for me, it works. I have to have I have to have the skeleton of it. And like an Opportunity Station that I mentioned earlier, I had the last line of that book basically written down before I wrote the first one in the actual story. Because to me, it's like saying, okay, Pat, drive Seattle. Sure, we're in Seattle. If you
Oh,
don't have an end destination, how do you know you've arrived? Seattle's big.
yeah.
So just using that as an example. And so for me, that's the process that makes it work because then I can infill and infill and infill and let my reviewers tell me what they think and then go back and work on that.
And you've got this giant post-it note thing behind you there too.
Yeah,
So how does that fit into all this? So if you're
well,
writing on the monitor or on the computer,
right. What I will often do
because
is take this, you know, these big things you
hmm,
see in training sessions and all that. And this story is Opportunity Station, the one I just mentioned. And this goes for 2.5 pages. And I will take a literal pencil and write out what's going to happen because I can develop the plot line and all of that. And then I will take this and transcribe it into Word because when I do that, now I have it. It's saved in a digital fashion, but it also gives me an opportunity to do that where I can untangle knots, KNOTS, in the plot line because I really care about continuity and plausibility. I've read books, paperbacks where you're 7 chapters in and you're like, oh, come on. And all you do is throw it in the corner and you go find something else to do because you get like, you kidding me? You know, that bothers me in my own work. I sometimes laugh when I read it other places. So this gives me a chance to plan all of that out, transcribe it into Word, and then when I start writing, I find that that process just flows because I've already been through it once mentally. And it's not unusual for me to sit down and write 5 to 8,000 words in a day when I do this. But
Once you
this is
get
the
that far.
preparation for me, okay? Because that's how this works
Yeah.
for me.
So it sounds like kind of a combination of both the plotter
It
and
is.
pantser and
It is.
things.
Once it was
Yeah.
explained to me what it was.
What those are. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing that.
um, yeah. Stephen King used the terms architect or gardener, which I like those too for that kind of
Yeah.
description.
Yeah.
But um, but anyways, let's see here. So I don't go too far into that. Oh, also, you have T-shirts you use when you promote your
Hmm.
books. So you wear those out in public. And
I'll
who
often,
is that on there?
okay, this one is Sembra Cooper from Opportunity Station. I'll get it this way. And so it's very, this one rolled the text on it. It actually says the bottom one, calm, cool, badass chick, because she is. I like strong women. So I'll wear this when I'm out, especially in warmer weather, when I'm out running errands or whatever, and people stop and ask me, who's that? Because they don't know who it is. And I have another one of Kenna. It's on the cover image of one of the Brock Canatigan books. I have a T-shirt with Kenna on it, and the people say, "Well, who's that?" And I say, "What do you mean? You don't know Kenna?" And they look at me like, "What I miss? What I miss?" And that gives me the opportunity to engage in a conversation about what I do.
And
And
talk
so
about
I
Kenna.
I have that, and when we were at Good Bar, I made up a 2 by 3 foot poster that has cover images off of 6 of my books on it and had that there on an easel back in the corner so that that was sort of something that people could see visually instead of just, you know, text or just books stacked on the table.
And so what do you do other than making T-shirts and binding your own books when you're not writing? What are you what are you doing?
Um, I volunteer in the community. I'm retired. Spent 21 years in the Navy. Retired from that. I retired from working commercially. Electrical engineer by training, and worked in industrial electric motors. And that's now behind me, though I still remember a lot of that stuff. And so I'm involved in Camas Washougal Rotary. We're engaged in the community. In the winter, my wife and I are in ballet. We danced in the Nutcracker with Columbia Dance up at Skyview High School in the version that's set in 1845 at Fort Vancouver in the Chief Factor's house. So everything we wear is 1845 period correct. And we all know who we would have been in 1845 because I portray Dr. Forbes Barkley, whose house is in Oregon City, next door to McLaughlin's house, John McLaughlin's house. And so it's like taking this trip back in time for a couple months as we prep for that. And there's 7 performances.
That sounds like something. um, okay, so I guess so for your books, you've got the mystery series and you've got the science fiction series. Do you do
Right.
a lot of research for these? And can you share something about that process and maybe something
Um,
interesting you found doing that?
for most of my writing in the science fiction series, um, in university I took a course in astronomy, so I have a moderate infill of things in the universe, and galactically. Not like Neil deGrasse Tyson, we're not going there, but at least a general sense of how things work. When there's gravity, when there's no gravity, why is there no gravity, that kind of stuff. So I try to pay attention to those details. Um, in one of my young adult books called Smoke, that was based on an experience I had when I was traveling for work. I saw something on a news program on television, and it just didn't leave me. And so that inspired that whole story. The book I have that I showed earlier, The Locket, was inspired. Both my parents passed away in the last 18 months. And in August of 2024, after my dad passed, we ended up cleaning out my mom's house, mom and dad's house, because she was going to move to Arizona to live with my brother. And I ended up with 3 carloads of stuff that came here. And part of that was like 4 big packing boxes of pictures and books and 4 plastic tubs of the family photo archive that I didn't know much of it existed. And I had all this stuff. I have pictures of my maternal grandmother from 1896, and these are the originals. These aren't copies of copies of copies. These are the originals. And from other relatives I've only heard of from 1915 and 1925. And so the story starts with Mary driving home with her family after her grandfather's funeral, and she starts asking questions. And a lot of that book is written around what I had just experienced as the inspiration of it, but I didn't make it about me. I chose to put this 17-year-old high school girl as the center of that story because she is gifted her great grandmother's locket that she wore on her wedding day. And I had all this kind of stuff.
Right. That's a that's good.
I still have a lot of stuff. You want some, Pat?
Oh, I've got quite a bit. So, let's see. So you're a member of Niwa, which is
Mhm.
the Northwest Independent Writers Association. How long have you been with them, and like what kind of resources of theirs, or what resources have you found and used through them? I guess.
I joined last summer in 2025 after the book fair at the Vancouver Barracks, the old artillery barracks. Somebody that I know had found the ad in the paper and said, "You should go to this."
Oh,
So I did. And that's back when I was still hand making books. And I went, and my wife went with me. And when it was all done, she says, "You need to join that." Okay. And you need to start doing something with your books other than just hand making. It takes me an hour and a half, 2 hours to make one of these. It's methodical. You rush it and you throw it away and do it over. And so that's when I engaged in actually publishing the books. And I enjoy the second Tuesday Zoom calls a lot because I have opportunity to engage with others that are doing the same thing because they know things I don't know. They're years ahead of me in doing this, and it gives an opportunity to just sit and listen to their conversations and make notes and write things down and go, okay, I need to go investigate that. Plus, just general information from the group and the newsletters that come out, I have a much better sense of what's going on. Last fall, there was an opportunity at the Oktoberfest in St. Paul. People had signed up to work the tent there, and several of them had to step out for some reason after they'd signed up. So the last minute, I was able to raise my hand and say, "Hey, yeah, I can step in for an evening." And I went down for 4 hours and left 10 hours later. But it was just great time because I had a chance to engage with people. Because what I found is, when we had all these books there, they were looking for John Grisham and people like that. And I said, no, the author's standing right there. And Pam, who wrote this one, I just talked to her Tuesday night because this was on a Thursday, and because Pam had been on the Zoom call. And I'm directing them to the authors that are there working the booth. And they're like, wait, they exist? Yeah, she's standing right there. Go talk to her. Go talk to him. Go talk to Robert over there. He's a different Robert. And the thing is that um, they were almost completely astonished that there's real people on the back end of that process, and one of them would be right there.
right there.
And so to me, I found that very engaging. And that blind date in the book thing where they wrap them in brown paper, um, that was a hit. I don't know who came up with that idea, but that worked. That was
Yeah,
really engaging.
it's really popular to people.
Hmm.
Those. So, do you have any other upcoming events that you're going to be at? Speaking of,
Um, I've got to get into the Niwa calendar and see what's coming. I've been waiting on
hmm,
a cousin to help set some travel plans, and so I don't sign up for something and then have to back out of it. But I want to do two or three of the book fairs. I understand there's one in June timeframe in Vancouver again this year. I think I want to be at that one and just be out where the people are and give them a chance to engage and listen to what they have to say, get their feedback, because I mean that's really what a lot of what makes this work.
thank you. Thanks for coming, or thanks for joining me today for the interview. So before we go, where can people find you and your books? So do you have a website? Are you on social media?
My books are
Or
primarily online on Amazon and at the link at the author page on the Niwa website, which takes right into Amazon because I have both ebooks and paperbacks there. I have not yet created a separate Facebook page or something like that just for the books because I really now need to find somebody who's done that and can walk through the process, do this, do this, do this, do this, and then you're good, for that purpose. That's part of being in the group, right?
right? Yeah, that'd be a good Tuesday night topic for us
That
at
would,
some point.
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I'm going